This presidential election cycle has given us nothing else in abundance. It has provided a wealth of ironies. And one of the biggest beefs that the Tea Party had with the leadership of the Republican Party was its weakness. Supposedly they're weak. They won't stand up. They won't fight. Where's their political martial spirit? And so they ultimately, and here's another irony, jettisoned the principles that they so passionately were insisting that the Republican leadership defend and fight for, and sold out to a liberal Democrat, a New York liberal con man like Donald J. Trump. But in the process of Donald Trump becoming the presidential nominee of the Republican Party, the Republican establishment had to sell out as well. Thus, in the process of selling out, a Tea Party are selling out their own principles in order to follow after Trump, the Republican establishment that they accused of refusing to stand up for those principles jettisoned them as well to become Donald Trump's personal gerbil herd, if you follow my meaning, and I think you do. Jonah Goldberg points this out today at nationalreview.com, his syndicated column, actually. Letting Trump run wild exposes the GOP's lack of principles. Everything Trump did before attacking other Republican leaders was acceptable, apparently, showing that their principles boil down to nothing more than all that Donald Trump seems to stand for: winning. The irony being, of course, he's going down to defeat and he's taking them with him. Donald Trump has the GOP trapped in not one Catch-22, but two. Call it a Catch-44. The first Catch-22 has been the subject of widespread conversation over the last few weeks. As GOP pollster Glenn Bolger summed it up for the New York Times, do we run the risk of depressing our base by repudiating the guy? Or do we run the risk of being tarred and feathered by independents for not repudiating him? Or damned if we do, damned if we don't, he added. We is you. And GOP left me on May the 3rd. I'm not part of that mess. I'm a conservative independent, ladies and gentlemen. Lots of Republicans adore Trump, which means they're not conservatives, they're national socialists. Just consider the Nurembergian enthusiasm at his massive rallies, and will turn on the establishment Republicans who betray him. But roughly, hell, they've already turned on him by nominating Trump in the first place. Turned on the establishment. But roughly one out of 5 Republicans do not support the nominee. I would be one of them if I were still in the Republican Party. College-educated married white women, a major part of the GOP demographic coalition, are abandoning him. Trump is behind by huge margins in key swing states. His standing in the national polls is flirting with the catastrophic. Currently just short of 8 points on average in the Real Clear Politics polling average. It's only early August, and already Republican strategists are speculating that down-ballot candidates will have to cut and run from the nominee in panic. If I were advising a candidate, and I used to do that for a living, the first thing I tell them is don't put yourself in the middle of other people's races, Oklahoma Representative Tom Cole said on MSNBC. That brings us to the second Catch-22. Republican candidates at this stage have no excuses to offer if they decide to repudiate Trump other than naked self-interest. Now let's assume Trump cannot mount a comeback and becomes an albatross for countless Republican candidates across the country. And that is a very safe assumption. And let's say they jump ship. Then every Democrat in the country, not to mention almost every pundit, will say, you guys were fine with Trump as the nominee when he was a racist, but now that he's hurting the whole GOP's chances, he's suddenly unacceptable? And the response will be, because there will be some truth to the accusation. It's instructive to look at what prompted the flop sweat panic of recent days. After leaving the the Trump-vention in Cleveland, Trump climbed the rhetorical jackass tree and then hurled himself earthward, hitting every branch on the way down. There's not enough space, not enough time in this video to recount in any serious detail all of the self-destructive statements and bizarre rabbit holes he spelunked into, from attacking the parents of Captain Humayun Khan, a soldier who died serving our country, to jokingly inviting the Russians to muck about in our elections, to reviving past controversies about Senator Ted Cruz's father's alleged complicity in the Kennedy assassination, to, of course, just yesterday, jokingly suggesting that gun owners, law-abiding gun owners, might just take shots at Hillary Clinton. And yet GOP establishment leaders stuck with their man, their conqueror, just as they'd stuck with their man when he threw NATO under the bus and ridiculed our treaty obligations with Japan and attacked American-born Judge Gonzalo Curiel for an alleged conflict of interest between his professional duties and his Mexican heritage. GOP leaders contemplated pulling the emergency brake on the Trump train.
Come on! Nice and easy! Don't look down! That's it! You're doing fine!
Only when the nominee said he wouldn't endorse Paul Ryan or Senators John McCain or Kelly Ayotte. The message was clear. Only his willingness to endanger top Republicans' re-election, well, directly, he's doing it indirectly, was truly unacceptable behavior. Nothing else Trump said or did until then was beyond the pale. In fact, the message was so clear that even Trump heard it. After an intervention his campaign denies took place, Trump grudgingly fell in line, for the weekend, basically. Reading a statement endorsing Ryan, McCain, and Ayotte with all the enthusiasm of an adolescent boy forced to apologize for shoplifting. And it was in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and if you will recall, Paul Ryan wasn't anywhere in the vicinity, and neither was Scott Walker, and he's not even up for re-election. And neither was Ron Johnson, who looks like he's going to lose his rematch with Fussy Russie Feingold. Therefore, it doesn't need to make his position even more dire by showing up on the same stage with Cheeto Jesus. There are no good options left for the GOP. Bottom line. However its leaders pivot to boost the party's chances in November, they risk revealing that winning is their only sacred principle. That is to say, admitting they have no sacred principles at all. Just like Trumplicans. Oh, the irony.